He's saying, stop. Don't refresh the job board again. Don't make another sacrifice on that altar of anxiety. I am not telling you to chase more doors. I am telling you to stop bowing to the system that pretends to be your source. This message isn't for everyone. It's for you, the one with tired eyes from applications, the one who rehearsed answers for interviews that never called back, the one who survived layoffs and learned to live with the silence. You are not invisible. You are being interrupted. Hear me clearly. The enemy is not your manager, not HR, not your industry, not your city. The enemy is a system that trained you to believe provision only comes with their permission. It says, wait for approval to eat, wait for a signature to breathe, wait for a calendar invite to be valuable. It turns your Mondays into altars of worry and your Fridays into brief resurrections. Work, worry, repeat. He's saying, I am breaking that agreement. A job is a channel, not the fountain. A paycheck is a method, not a master. A company is a tool, not a throne. I will not let what I use become what you worship. I am your source. Provision has a name, and it is not salary, overtime, or benefits. Provision has my fingerprints. When I am your source, the channel can change, and the flow will not stop. Listen to the shift. Heaven's economy has roots, timing, and direct deposits that do not wait for earthly approvals. There are wires I can send that bypass their algorithms. There are doors I can open that never existed on their boards. There are instructions I give that release provision through unexpected routes. Clients that find you, ideas that monetize while you sleep, favor that outruns your resume. Not superstition, kingdom logistics, not luck, law. He's not removing your responsibility, he's removing your dependence. You will still show up with excellence. You will still steward what is in your hands, but you will stop kneeling to a system that cannot bless you without taking your peace as payment. Your diligence remains. Your devotion shifts. You won't check in with fear. You will check in with me. You won't chase every opening. You will follow one instruction. So, stand up on the inside. Untie your worth from their timelines. Cancel the prophecy of panic that loads every email with dread. Say it out loud. Now, my job is not my source. God is. Type it in the comments if you need to mark it in the earth. My job is not my source. God is. I am retraining your trust. I am moving you from permission to promise, from begging for access to walking in inheritance. Starting tonight, expect alignment to introduce you to roots you didn't know existed. When I am your source, provision is not a chase, it's a certainty. He's saying, I'm putting the contract on the table, the one you never signed with ink but signed with sleepless nights and clenched teeth. The one written in the glow of deadlines at 1 a.m., in the hum of an empty fridge at 6 p.m., in the stack of bills that sit like judgments on your counter. The one that makes you hold your breath when a notification pings and forces a smile at 9 a.m. stand-up, while anxiety tightens your chest like a fist. You've been living on a treadmill, work, worry, repeat, and calling it responsible. I'm calling it an agreement with fear. Listen to the system's script that's been narrating your days. If I work harder, I'll be safe. If I please people, I'll be provided for. If I grind enough, I'll be secure. If I never say no, maybe they'll say yes. If I carry it all, maybe I won't drop what matters. If I keep my head down, maybe favor will notice me. That script didn't just cost you time, it trained your trust. It taught your heart to associate provision with panic, value with exhaustion, and safety with approval. How many doors did you knock on that drained you? How many interviews did you rehearse in the shower while tears burned your eyes? How many emails did you send at midnight to prove your worth tomorrow's chair? How many times did a yes arrive and still not bring peace? How many raises still left you budgeting your dignity? How many commutes did you make with a knot in your stomach, telling yourself this is just what adults do? How many times did you apologize for needing rest like it was a crime? I am not shaming your work ethic. I gave you diligence. I love your excellence. But hear me. You've been using human strength to solve a spiritual trust issue. You've been trying to purchase with sweat what I wrote into your story as inheritance. You've been negotiating with fear as your financial counselor, letting anxiety draft your budget, letting panic approve your moves, letting scarcity pick your hours. When fear is the CFO of your soul, even abundance feels temporary. I'm tearing up that invisible contract. I'm breaking the loop that tells you, hurry or you'll be hungry, prove or you'll be punished, perform or you'll be passed over. That is not covenant language. That is captivity language. In my kingdom, work is worship, not ransom. Effort is stewardship, not salvation. Your identity funds your activity, not the other way around. You don't beg for what bears my name on it. You receive it, you steward it, you obey, and peace becomes your atmosphere. So feel this shift. Responsibility remains, but the referee is no longer fear. You will not be coached by panic. You will not be mentored by scarcity. I am your counselor. I am your source. I am confronting not your hustle, but your agreement with a system that made worry a virtue, and I am breaking it now. He's saying, breathe. Look back without blaming yourself and listen. That delay was protection. That no was redirection. That silence was me refusing to fund your bondage. You called it rejection. I called it rescue. I watched a net being woven around your time, your voice, your health, your home, and I shut the entry before you signed years of peace away for a title that would have traded your worship for a wage. Earthly logic told you performance guarantees promotion. Kingdom logic says alignment guarantees access. The system rewards what entertains it. My kingdom responds to what obeys me. You assumed more hours, more emails, more proving would unlock the future, but I wasn't withholding favor. I was withholding slavery. You prayed for provision. I protected your identity first, because if you prosper without identity, the blessing becomes a leash. Hear me. Not every open door is favor, and not every closed door is failure. There is counterfeit favor that smiles like opportunity, but steals quietly. Peace first, then prayer, then family, then health, then the clarity to even notice it leaving. It pays 20% more and taxes your soul 80% harder. It applauds your grind and drains your grace. It gives you a badge and takes your breath. That's not promotion. That is a polished cage. I will not bless you into burnout. I will not promote you into panic. I refuse to fund a life where fear manages your calendar and shame whispers you earned it. So when the email never came, when the interview went silent, when the offer evaporated at the last minute, I was not ignoring you. I was rerouting you. Heaven has logistics you cannot see, routes that bypass bottlenecks, approvals you don't need, timing you can't accelerate with tears or talent. My angels are not waiting on HR. My provision is not trapped behind their portals. I know the traffic on tomorrow's road. I see the detour that protects you from an accident you would have called destiny. When you hit a closed door, don't call it punishment. Call it providence. Stop romanticizing what I already closed. Stop stalking doors I sealed shut for your freedom. Stop editing the past into a love story with a system that hurt you. Egypt feeds you for a day and bills you for a generation. Do not crave onions when I'm giving you manna. Let the closed door be a grave you don't visit. If I resurrect what I crucified, you return to chains of your own choosing. Say it now. I release every door God has closed. I refuse to grieve what was a trap. Because before you can receive provision that flows by covenant, you must consent to my reroute. I am not teasing you. I am training you. I am not late. I am precise. Your next is already scheduled on heaven's calendar. When you stop mourning the counterfeit and honor my no, you'll hear the instruction that unlocks the yes that can carry your calling without crushing your soul. He's saying, let's settle this at the throne level. The job is a pipeline. I am the reservoir. The paycheck is a stream, not the spring. The contract is a channel, not the creator. The system is a tool, not the source. When a tool starts acting like a god, I will pry it out of your hands for your freedom. I will not let what I use become what you worship. I will not share my throne with a timesheet. You didn't intend to worship it. But look at the fruit. When the email pings, your peace rises. When it doesn't, your peace collapses. When the title appears, you feel valuable. When it's threatened, you feel invisible. When the paycheck lands, you exhale. When it delays, you stop breathing. That isn't management, that's idolatry. If a thing can give you identity and take it away, you crowned it. If a channel can decide your mood, your hope, your future, you gave it a seat only I own. Hear me, I am not anti-job. I'm anti-idol. I can pay you through a boss or through a buyer, through a company or through a client, through a salary or through a sudden door, through an invention, an introduction, an instruction. I have 1,000 methods, but there is only one source. The day you confuse. My method for my nature is the day your faith starts crumbling under headlines, because if the channel is your source, any shake becomes a collapse. A rumor becomes a crisis. A restructuring becomes a funeral. One memo feels like a famine. That's why panic has been loud, because your trust was tied to a pipe, not a fountain. Let me restore order. Work is worship, not a war for worth. Money is a servant, not a master. Your job is an altar you steward, not a throne you bow to. You are not fed by HR. You are fed by heaven. You do not eat by their permission. You eat by my promise. He's saying, stop asking a channel for what only the reservoir can give you. Identity, future, safety, and peace. The channel moves. The reservoir remains. When a river changes course, the ocean doesn't panic. When one door dries up, heaven doesn't hold emergency meetings. I am not limited to their approvals. I am not restrained by their budgets. I don't need their portal to make a payment. I have routes you don't see, couriers you don't know, timings you can't schedule. If one stream recedes, I release another. If one pipe breaks, I reroute pressure to new lines. That's why I told you to release your grip, because clinging to a closed valve blocks the new flow I'm opening. So here is the alignment. Honor the channel, worship the source. Be excellent at the assignment, but don't enthrone the assignment. Steward the pipeline, but set your heart on the reservoir. Say it now. The job is a pipeline. God is the reservoir. The paycheck is a stream, not the spring. Feel the shift as fear loses leverage. When your trust sits on my throne, instability in the channel no longer dictates stability in your soul. And because I am the source, you will not run dry. I will open what no system can shut. He's saying, hear me. Heaven has a payroll. There is a treasury with your name on it. There are accounts, authorizations, and release dates. Your miracle isn't random, it's scheduled. I do not fund purpose by accident. I don't move provision by mood. There is an order to this. Covenant first, instruction next, release on time. Think direct deposit, but not from a company, direct from the King. When I authorize a deposit, no system can place it on hold. When I schedule a transfer, delays become detours that still land on your date. It's not luck, it's law. See my infrastructure. I am not a manager scrambling. I am a king administrating. There is a spiritual vault where promises are held, a logistics department that maps routes, a dispatch that assigns angels. an operations calendar where assignments sync with timing. You worry about which door to knock on. Heaven worries about which courier carries the blessing and which route keeps your soul intact. I route through people you haven't met, platforms you didn't build, rooms you didn't request, because kings send, they don't chase. Provision doesn't just show up as paychecks. I can move through unexpected refunds, forgotten checks, back pay corrections, overpaid bills returning to you, debt cancellations that felt impossible yesterday, fees waived without explanation, credits applied quietly, tax outcomes shifted in your favor. I can send new clients out of season, revive dormant leads, breathe on an old proposal, place your name in the mouth of a gatekeeper. I can drop an idea at 3 a.m. that monetizes by 3 p.m. I can redeem time by giving you strategy that collapses months of grind into one obedient step. A warehouse inventory of favor exists, and I am not stingy with my heirs. Do not twist this into lottery faith. I am not asking you to sit still and hope a windfall trips over you. I am asking you to align covenant trust and obedient action. That is the authorization code. This is not superstition, it is spiritual governance. When I whisper, list what you have, do it. When I say, call that person, move now. When I nudge you to finish the portfolio, send the invoice, price the product, forgive the debt, sow the seed, steward the idea, obey. Obedience opens what ambition cannot. Heaven doesn't fund anxiety, it funds alignment. I'm not saying quit your job today. I'm saying quit worshiping it today. Detach your peace from their portal. Be excellent at the assignment in your hand while expecting me to release deposits from directions your resume does not control. Their approvals are not my calendar. Their silence is not my shortage. When they stall, I can still send. When they deny, I can still deliver. When they restructure, I reroute. Say this in faith. Heaven has a payroll, and I am on it. My God supplies all my need according to his riches and glory. Not their budget, not their mood, not their market. Expect pings from heaven's dispatch, an idea, a connection, a message, an instruction. When it arrives, move. Your obedience is the routing number. Your identity is the account name, and the king's signature is already on the transfer. He's saying, here is the switch. It isn't more hustle, it's obedience. Write this on your heart. Effort can't replace instruction. Hustle can't replace hearing. Anxiety can't produce provision. You've tried intensity. I'm calling for alignment. You've ground your teeth through weeks of striving. I'm asking for one yes that collapses the distance between promise and release. Striving is pressure. Obedience is clarity even when it's uncomfortable. Striving says, if I push harder, I'll matter. Obedience says, if I do what he said, it will happen. Striving burns fuel without movement. Obedience feels small but moves mountains. Striving chases outcomes. Obedience follows a voice. Striving is loud with fear's logic. Obedience is simple with heaven's instruction. I do not fund panic schedules. I fund alignment. This is how my economy moves. I whisper a step, you move your feet, and the door that was welded shut swings. Small obedience unlocks large supply. Make the call you've avoided. The conversation you fear holds a key you can't see. Send the email without desperation. Your peace is the pitch. Fix the resume as an act of stewardship, not as a sacrifice to the system. Finish the course you abandoned. The skill you shelved is tomorrow's stream. Reconcile that relationship. Offense has been clogging a pipeline you're praying for. Sow a seed where I point, not where ego gets applause. Budget with integrity. Leaky containers can't hold overflow. One step, one yes. Watch the lines open. Let me confront what's been hiding. You've been begging me for outcomes while ignoring the instruction that protects them. You pray for provision and mute me when I correct your language, your laziness, your bitterness, your spending. You declare new doors, but keep gossip alive, and gossip is a padlock. You want increase, but avoid invoicing because fear of no is your boss. You ask for strategy and refuse silence long enough to hear it. That is disobedience dressed like devotion. I love you too much to fund a pattern that will bankrupt your soul. Hear my certainty. One act of obedience can open what months of striving could never unlock. Not because obedience manipulates me, but because it aligns you with what I already authorized. When I say, post the portfolio now, timing is the miracle. When I say, forgive and bless, peace becomes the lubricant for doors. When I say, price it correctly, honor attracts provision. When I say, rest tonight, I am multiplying while you sleep. So here's the bridge. You're moving from survival by strain to supply by alignment. Your feet will obey and your mouth will agree. Say it now, out loud so your atmosphere hears it. I move when he speaks. I do the small thing he says, and the big thing opens. Heaven doesn't fund anxiety, it funds alignment. Your next instruction is your next income. Your next yes is your next opening. And we are about to train your mouth to authorize what your obedience initiates. He's saying, now we train your mouth. Your mouth is the banking authorization. Your words are not background noise, they are signatures on spiritual forms. Declarations don't impress me, they align you with what I already authorized. When you speak what I spoke, you bring your heart, posture, and expectation into agreement with heaven's economy. You stop co-signing anxiety. You start co-signing covenant. It is written is not poetry. It is executable code. My son stood in the wilderness and did not argue with temptation. He cut it down with, it is written. That is how you shut down the system's fear, not by explaining your budget to panic, but by authorizing my word against it. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18:21. Angels mighty in strength, heed the voice of my word, Psalm 103:20. When you give my word your voice, you give heaven a sound to move on. Let me expose the loop that's been draining you. I'll never get ahead. I'm stuck. There's no opportunity. It's the economy. Every time I save, something breaks. People like me don't get chosen. Those are not harmless sighs. They are standing orders to fear. They enroll you in the system's payroll of panic. They keep you subscribed to scarcity. I won't fund that language. I love you too much to let your tongue overdraft your destiny. Switch the script. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Psalm 107, verse 2. Say it and mean it. Type, my job is not my source. God is. Then say it out loud. Don't whisper it like you're unsure. Your atmosphere needs authority, not apology. Here is your cadence, identity, source, supply, peace, instruction. Follow it like breathing. Identity. I am a covenant heir, not a captive to wages. It is written, you are no longer a slave, but a son, and if a son, then an heir. Galatians 4:7. I stand as an heir. Source. My job is not my source. God is. It is written, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Channels shift. The source remains. Supply. It is written, my God shall supply all my need according to his riches and glory. By Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. I receive direct deposit from heaven's account, not by their budget, by his riches. Peace. It is written, you will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you. Isaiah 26:3. I cancel the fear contract. Peace is my currency. Anxiety has no authorization here. Instruction. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God, Matthew 4:4. I live by proceeding word. My next instruction is my next income. I hear and I move. Speak this morning and night, not as a chant, as covenant enforcement. Your declarations are the steering wheel of your miracle. When your mouth aligns, your steps follow. When your steps obey, supply flows. Say it again with confidence. My job is not my source. God is. It is written, and it is authorized. He's saying, I'm after your identity now. The system taught you to live like a petitioner in a long line, ticket in hand, eyes on the counter, rehearsing why you deserve to eat. It trained you to believe provision is earned by approval, purchased by performance, maintained by constant proving. If they like you, you're safe. If they notice you, you're fed. If you never rest, you're worthy. That isn't diligence, that's bondage. That isn't stewardship. That's slavery dressed in professionalism. Listen to me. You are not a beggar in my economy. You are an heir. Sons don't chase, they inherit promises. Daughters don't grovel, they carry their father's name. You did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but the spirit of adoption by whom we cry, Abba, Father, Romans 8:15. Beggars survive by permission. Heirs move by covenant. Beggars ask, will they pick me? Heirs say, it is written, he picked me. Kings don't chase, they command, not arrogance. Authority with peace, not entitlement. Inheritance by covenant. Let me expose the shame cycle that's been robbing you. When your worth is tied to wages, you will accept abuse to feel secure, compromise to keep a chair, and burnout to prove you belong. You'll say yes when your spirit screams no. You'll underprice what I graced. You'll apologize for taking a day off like you stole something. You'll apologize for needing boundaries as if rest is rebellion. Shame makes you cheap. Fear makes you quiet. The system rewards that silence and calls it team player. Heaven calls it slavery. I'm cutting that leash. As an heir, your value doesn't inflate or crash with markets. Your identity isn't a paycheck graph. Your peace isn't a performance review. Authority looks like this. You show up excellent without begging for breath. You negotiate without neediness. You set prices that honor grace, not ego. You sow as I instruct, not to buy blessing, but to partner with it. You budget with integrity because overflow requires containers. You can wait without panicking. You can say no without fear of famine. You can take a Sabbath without guilt because kings rest from victory, not for it. Hear the difference. An employee mentality spends from anxiety, applies from urgency, agrees from fear. An heir stewards from peace, moves by instruction, agrees with truth. An employee mentality scans portals at 2 a.m. and calls it grind. An heir listens at 6 a.m. and calls it direction. An employee mentality begs rooms to open. An heir speaks to gates and walks when they lift. You will still work more purely than ever, but work becomes worship, not ransom. Effort becomes expression, not earning. Results become witness, not validation. Say it now, out loud to your atmosphere. I break the beggar mentality. I am an heir. My worth is settled. My source is God. My steps follow instruction, not intimidation. Financial freedom doesn't begin when the salary changes. It begins when the slavery ends. It begins when you stop thinking like a captive to wages and start living like a covenant heir to promises. Take your seat. Breathe, shoulders back, heart steady. You are not waiting to be chosen. You were already named. And when identity sits on the throne, fear loses its voice over your future. He's saying, I'm not asking you to gamble. I'm pointing to my record. Look at how I move so your fear loses its argument. These are not fairy tales. They are legal precedents in my kingdom. I have always fed my people outside the system. I have never needed their approvals to keep a covenant. Elijah stood in a famine, and I did not send him a hiring manager. I sent him birds. I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. 1 Kings 17. Unusual carriers, unlikely couriers, meat and bread, morning and evening, on time like clockwork, at a brook no committee controlled. And when the brook dried, I didn't panic. I rerouted him by word, because supply follows my instruction, not the weather report. Hear the pattern. I choose the route. I choose the timing. I fund obedience. Israel wandered a wilderness with no farms, no markets, no payroll cycles, and I baked bread from heaven. Behold, I will rain bread. Exodus 16. Daily portion, double on the 6th, none on the 7th, yet no one starved. Why? I wasn't just feeding bodies, I was training trust. I was dismantling hoarding and teaching rhythm. The lesson, dependence on my voice sets the cadence of provision, not scarcity's siren, not the system's schedule. A widow stared at creditors, oil almost gone, and I did not drop coins from the sky. I multiplied what she had. Go, borrow vessels, shut the door, pour. 2 Kings 4. Instruction, containers, flow. As long as there was room, the oil ran. When the vessels stopped, the flow stopped. Not because I was exhausted, but because I honor capacity and obedience. Then I gave her an exit strategy. Sell, pay the debt, live on the rest. That's my economy. Miracle plus wisdom, overflow plus order. Peter, professional fisherman, toiled all night and caught nothing. Then one sentence, launch out, let down your nets. Luke 5. Same lake, same net, different word. Boat sinking, net breaking catch. Effort without instruction produced emptiness. One act under my voice produced excess that employed partners. That is instruction-based overflow. Joseph? Not a paycheck miracle, a purpose promotion. From pit to prison to palace by prophetic insight that saved nations. Genesis 41. Strategy funded by revelation. He did not ride market waves, he governed them. 7 years of plenty, 7 of famine. And he fed multitudes because heaven put wisdom on the throne of logistics. Sometimes I pay you with ideas that outlive economies. Sometimes I seed you into rooms where your counsel becomes currency. Do you see the principle rising like a banner? Provision followed my word, not the market. Carriers changed. Ravens, manna, oil, fish, favor, but the source did not. Timing varied. Immediate bread at dawn, a staged filling behind a shut door, a decade of shaping for a day of sudden elevation. But the governance was mine, not your employer's mood. If I could feed a nation where there were no stores, I can fund you in a shaky economy. If I put bread in beaks, I can put your name in a gatekeeper's mouth. If I multiplied oil in a crisis house, I can multiply ideas in yours. Stop forecasting famine by headlines. Forecast by heaven. It is written, I have been young and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Psalm 37:25. It is written, the young lions lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not lack any good thing. Psalm 34:10. Now you're not just inspired, you're enlisted. Over the next 72 hours, we're going to practice this precedent. Morning and night, your mouth will authorize, your heart will rest, and your feet will obey. Heaven's pattern is about to become your rhythm. He's saying, for the next 3 days, morning and night, do this, not forever, just 3 days. Create a point of contact, a consecrated window where heaven's economy becomes your rhythm. Set alarms, guard the time, treat it like a meeting you would never miss, because it is, with the King who funds your future. 3 days, the number of resurrection. What died in striving will rise in alignment. Morning session begins by arresting panic. Sit. Close your eyes. Hand on your chest. Breathe in slowly for 4, out for 6. With each exhale, release the fear contract. See the bills stamped paid. See the fridge full and your table laughing with family. See your calendar with margin and your sleep unbroken. See your shoulders down, your jaw unclenched, your heart steady. Peace is not a luxury, it is currency. Peace authorizes flow. Let my peace rule, and lack loses its microphone. Then declare, not as distant hope, but as present reality. Give my word, your voice. It is written, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. So I refuse want thinking. It is written, the young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not lack any good thing. Psalm 34:10. So I do not lack any good thing today. It is written, my God shall supply all my need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. So supply is moving to me now, from his riches, not their budgets. It is written, you will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you. Isaiah 26:3. So my mind is stayed, and perfect peace keeps me. Say them like you're signing a contract, because you are. Now, obedience check-in. Whisper, Lord, what's my instruction today? Wait in the quiet. Don't fill it with your plans. Listen for a nudge. Call this person. Send that invoice. Finish the portfolio. Price the service properly. Forgive the name you keep avoiding. List what's in your house. Post the offer. Rest tonight. Write it down. Do the first small step within 24 hours. Your obedience is the routing number. Move it, even if it feels small. Seal it with stewardship. Take one practical action that matches faith. Review your budget line by line and plug one leak. Cancel one unnecessary subscription. Reconcile one overdue account. Send one proposal without begging in your tone. Set one boundary that protects your Sabbath. Containers honor overflow. Wisdom keeps what miracles pour. Night session repeats the rhythm. Breathe, declare, ask, obey, seal, then rest. No late-night doom scrolling. Lay your head under promise, not under panic. If fear tries to rehearse worst-case scenarios, answer with, it is written, and return to peace as your currency. Finally, seal it publicly as covenant, not performance. Type, my job is not my source. God is. Over the next 3 days, I will obey by your first step. Your confession isn't for applause, it's for alignment. 3 days of aligned speech, peace, and obedience will interrupt a cycle that years of striving couldn't break. Watch what shifts. Expect pings from heaven's dispatch. When instruction knocks, move. Direct deposit is already scheduled. He's saying, now that your mouth has authorized and your feet have begun to obey, open your eyes. Watch for the signs of direct deposit. Heaven's provision often arrives as a route and an instruction. Recognize it, honor it, and move with it. Stop waiting only for checks in envelopes. Start noticing routes that lead to rooms you didn't know were yours. Direct deposit can look like a message from a decision maker who just felt led to bump your file to the top. It can look like an idea at 6:12 a.m. that, if executed, becomes a stream by evening. It can be debt relief you thought was off the table, a delayed payment finally landing, a new client flow from an introduction you almost ignored, an unusual discount at the exact moment you needed it, a refunded fee you forgot you paid, or a pricing structure you adjust in obedience that doubles response without extra strain. Sometimes it's a waived penalty. Sometimes it's a schedule suddenly cleared so you can complete the proposal that unlocks the door. Time is currency too. Do not miss it because it's dressed like ordinary. Miracles often wear the clothes of instructions, introductions, and interruptions. A random coffee invitation that puts you at a table with a gatekeeper, a nudge to clean your records that exposes overcharges and subscriptions you cancel, increasing flow. A detour that makes you late enough to meet the person on the elevator who becomes a client. A declined application that redirects you to build the thing that feeds you. A slow workday that is not punishment but permission to outline, price, and post the offer you've delayed. Do not despise the day of small beginnings, Zechariah 4:10. Small roots open large rivers. How do you discern the difference between a holy root and a distracting loop? Use the grid I've given you, peace versus pressure. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts, Colossians 3:15. My peace rules like an umpire, it calls it safe or out. Pressure shouts, rush now or miss it. Peace says, move now and you won't miss it. Clarity versus confusion. God is not the author of confusion, 1 Corinthians 14:33. The root may stretch you, but it won't fog you. Integrity versus compromise. He who walks with integrity walks securely, Proverbs 10:9. If it demands you lie, hide, or wound your witness, it's not me. Confirmation versus isolation. In the multitude of counselors there is safety, Proverbs 11:14. My voice will harmonize with Scripture and with godly counsel, not compete for secrecy. And remember, my sheep hear my voice, John 10:27. You are not tone deaf, you are trained. He's saying, I am not making you reckless, I'm making you free. Free people can hear, bound people just hustle. Freedom sounds like, I can wait without panic, I can move without begging, I can say no without fear of famine. Recklessness hides from light. Freedom welcomes wisdom. When a sign appears, honor it, write it down. Respond within 24 hours, even with one small step. Steward what lands. Receipt every refund. Tithe and budget with order. Thank me aloud for discounts like you would for deposits, because gratitude multiplies flow. Treat introductions with dignity. Follow up promptly, without desperation in your tone. Guard the new route. If offense, laziness, or gossip tries to clog it, repent quickly and keep it clear. Over these 3 days, expect pings from heaven's dispatch. Ideas, texts, open doors, inner nudges. Your eyes are tuned now. Your peace will point, your counsel will confirm, your scripture will anchor, and then we will end with authority, because the system has spoken over you long enough, and your decree will finish what alignment has begun. He's saying, here is the line in the sand. The war was always about trust. The system demanded dependence. The kingdom demands surrender. The system recruited your fear. The kingdom awakens your faith. One enslaves with anxiety. One empowers with identity. Tonight, the contract with panic is broken and the covenant with provision is enforced. Your source has a name, and it's not the company, the client, or the calendar. It is the Lord your God who teaches you to profit and leads you by the way you should go. This is not luck. This is covenant. This is not random. This is release. Now repeat after me. Short, strong, certain. Source, my job is not my source. God is. Identity, I am not a beggar, I am an heir. Peace, I will not finance my life with fear. Perfect peace keeps me. Provision, my God supplies all my need according to his riches in glory. Obedience, my next instruction is my next income. I hear and I move. Open doors, ancient gates lift for the king's heirs. The right doors open and stay open. Say it again with your shoulders back and your breath steady. This is not performance, it's permission. Source, identity, peace, provision, obedience, open doors. It is written and it is authorized. I declare over you, closed doors that were traps remain closed, and ordained doors swing without striving. I decree that roots appear and fear disappears, that what delayed you now delivers you on heaven's schedule. I decree that payments held up are released, that ideas long dormant are revived, that introductions arrive by appointment, not by accident. This is not luck, this is covenant, this is not random, this is release. From this night forward, treat provision as promise, not panic. Keep the 3-day protocol as often as your soul needs calibration, morning and night. Breathe, declare, receive instruction, obey, steward, rest, and start a provision journal. Date every instruction, record every route, note every credit, discount, introduction, strategy, and peace-filled number. Testimony is memory that trains trust. When fear tries to invoice your heart, open your journal and show it the receipts of God's faithfulness. Stay in this stream. Return here when the noise rises, because your spirit needs truth that retrains your trust consistently. Subscribe, come back, and keep your heart under this word, not for hype, for health. Partner with this voice until your first reaction to pressure is peace, your first language is, "It is written," and your first move is obedience. Now lift this final decree and let heaven witness your agreement. My story of lack ends tonight. Heaven's economy is my reality. I renounce the fear contract. I enthrone God as my source. I move by instruction. I speak by covenant. I steward with integrity. Direct deposit routes are open, authorized, and inevitable in Jesus' name. This is not luck. This is covenant. This is not random. This is release. And it is done.